Hi, and welcome to Video Marketing Confidence Live, a fortnightly live broadcast helping you and your business create better videos to engage your audience. I'm Diana Johnson, and I'm passionate about helping you, small business owners and fellow entrepreneurs, to build your personal brand and online influence through the use and power of videos. Effective video marketing has the power to move people into action and enable you to thrive. If you have any questions today, please do send them over and we'll try and get through as many as we can. This week, I'm delighted to welcome Cole Gray of Pixels Inc. Cole, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on. I love getting interviewed.
Yeah, I've got the gag ready, so we should be good to go.
I know, just be prepared.
Okay, so now, do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are and what the main focus of your business is?
So my name's Col, and it's short for Colin, not Colonel. And my business is Pixels Inc. And I started off as a graphic design business, but I've now moved into brand strategy as well. So it's a full kind of service, full service brand in terms of design and strategy. And I also have another sub brand called Rock Your Brand, which is pretty much a monthly newsletter at the moment, but will be expanding into probably more the strategy only side of my business. So yeah, I've been doing this for about 22 years now. So that's the short story.
Cool. That really was the short story, wasn't it? I'm sure it won't last.
There's a longer story, yeah.
Now, you mentioned brand a lot there. I think that people sometimes can assume that branding, and even maybe brand identity are all the same thing. And they can have a different meaning to different people. So can you explain what you personally mean when you speak about branding, brand identity, and things like that?
Yeah, so people tend to think that branding is everything. So your logo and all your logo is a lot of people think a logo is your brand, but it's not. That's part of your identity. So the brand is kind of the overall foundational element. So brand strategy is a phrase that you'll probably hear, which is things like your values, your purpose, why you're doing what you're doing, things called brand archetypes, which is the personality of your brand. All of that core foundational, what I like to kind of call your brand heart, sits at the bottom and is what feeds and supports everything else above it, which is your brand identity and your branding, which is the visual things that people see, the things that that they will interact with. Now that could be things like how you answer a telephone. That's part of your experience that people have with your brand. Could they get parked if you have a car park? Were the toilets clean? These are things that are very important but get forgotten about. Not just your brochure and your logo and your business cards. It's the whole infrastructure of it all can have a big impact on how people talk about you. And it's the Jeff Bezos thing. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, and it's very true. People talk about people behind their backs, and they do it a lot with brands. So hopefully that
do you see a lot of misalignment with those values and what's being said in one place as opposed to others?
Yeah, that's a big thing, and that's a surefire signal to me that someone hasn't spent enough time on their strategy. Strategy can be seen to be fluffy and something that you can just kind of skip over. Oh, here are our values. If you go to our website, we've got a values page. Here are our 4 values. That's not how I want to see a brand's values. Your customer, me, I should be experiencing your values. I should be feeling how you want to treat the world, if you're eco-conscious or anything like that, if you do social good causes. I want to see and experience that. I don't want to read it on a web page. Anyone could do that. And you tend to find large corporates do that. Smaller businesses which are starting up, a lot of which come from hobbies. something that they love doing, you can feel the passion, but the branding may not be so good because they don't understand that and they don't have the budget for it. So they have the passion and the purpose and the values, and this is why I'm doing this, but it might not look so great. Then you've got the large corporates who have the budgets to make everything look great, but their values and stuff are just lip service. It's what they think their customers want to see and hear. So it's kind of, so like you say, there's a misalignment. So you've got all these companies, these large companies saying, we do this, we put the customer first and we do that. Yet, slip behind on a payment or try to inquire about a fault with something, and you just get this blanket templated response, which is not putting the customer first. It's just corporate speak. And so, there is a misalignment, but if you get your strategy right and get that written down and create a set of brand guidelines, which whenever you're going to create a piece of communication or a piece of marketing, you refer to your brand guidelines and say, okay, who are we? Because the way that I work with clients is that your brand becomes a person. A lot of people think about their brand as the company, which is true, or the organization. But if you then make that a person and say, okay, I'm sending this person out into the world to speak to other people, how do I want them to dress? How do I want them to talk? What language should they use? How should they introduce themselves? You then start to think about your brand in an entirely different way if you think about it as a person, because you don't want your brand to be barging into a room and saying, buy my stuff. Because anyone who goes networking has experienced those types of people. That's not what you want. You want them to go in and go, be a good listener. How can I help you? What's your problem? Tell me more. Tell me more. That's the people you want to engage with. But for some reason, that's not how websites talk. That's not how brochures talk. It's that person that barges into the room, buy my stuff, buy my stuff.
It's all really about the relationship you build with people and people buying from people. And it's all in the detail, which kind of leads me on to a stereotype that I have about designers, in that you are all about the detail, which I guess must lead to, in some degree, perfectionism.
Yes.
And I know that's something that holds a lot of people back. I see it in every day with my clients. I see people struggling with the perfectionism. It stops them from starting, stops them from moving forward. So I'm wondering, do you struggle with that at all? And if so, how do you deal with it?
I do. I actually had to complete a form for somebody that I'm meeting tomorrow, who's helping me out with something, and I had to complete a grid, and I couldn't complete the grid because what if that's wrong? What's the right answer? And then when you have that perfectionism, rather than putting something down, you don't do anything. And so it's like you say, trying to start the business. The way that I do it is that I just go, you know what? The first thing's always going to be messy. Now, I know that's quite scary because you think, well, I don't want people to think that my brand is messy or unprofessional. But if you do it with your best foot forward in the best way that you can, then you're not doing it wrong. You just have to be prepared and know that each iteration of what you do will get better. Seek out the best help that you can. There's lots of people out there who've got, lots of great freebies that will help you. Just, I suppose the biggest thing is don't do it on your own. The one thing that clears perfectionism out of my head is when I speak to someone else and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Got any advice? And they will just say something really simple. And they're like, well, why are you thinking that? That's a great idea. Or, yeah, what about this? And sometimes, I wouldn't say it's validation, but just sometimes you just need someone else to say, yeah, that's cool, go for it. If you sit in a room on your own, you'll never do it because you're only speaking, you're speaking to yourself and you're having this internal conversation, and your brain is sometimes not your best friend.
No, it doesn't always give you the best answers, does it?
No, and it leads to the worst conclusions. What could go wrong? Not what could happen if this went right, but it's always what could go wrong. So I regularly check in. I have an accountability group there's three of us. I call it a group. There's three of us, and we meet every kind of few weeks, and we talk every day as well. But we have and we catch up and do what we're doing, what's coming up, because we kind of find that a month is about as long as you can go before you start to go back into your old way of thinking. So it's a nice refresher. But I have multiple people that I can kind of call upon, whether that be people in Facebook groups, just to chat to. So just don't, if you're struggling with perfectionism, reach out and just speak to someone and ask their opinion.
That's great advice. It's always good to have a second opinion, especially if you're in a situation where you're not a part of a team, when you are on your own.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can go all the way down the road and then suddenly realize that actually that's the wrong road. You should have taken the other one.
Yeah.
You're too busy going.
Yeah. There's no harm. Even if you ask them and then you disagree with them.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I'm just going to go ahead anyway. You've defeated the perfectionism, because you're like, no, I am right. I am going to do this. And it's so sometimes someone will give you the right advice, but sometimes hearing something opposite will spur you on to do what you were going to do in the first place. So there's no right and wrong. I just think that speaking to someone will always trigger movement forward, and sort of take the brakes off.
That's great. Thanks for that, Cole. Now I'd like to spend a bit of time talking about your YouTube channel, if that's okay. You've got nearly 6,000 subscribers, I believe. That's pretty good going.
26,000.
26,000. Sorry, I don't know why I said 26,000. Sorry to belittle the numbers there.
It's all right. To be honest, when I reached 100 subscribers, I was over the moon. It's crazy.
26,000 subscribers doesn't happen overnight. So can you firstly tell me a little bit how and why you started to create videos? Because you're a graphic designer, and in my experience, graphic designers like to hide behind a computer screen. They don't like to.
Yeah. I don't like getting my photograph taken. So things like this, neither
do I, and I'm a photographer.
You get more used to it. You get more used to it. But I suppose the YouTube channel kind of came around. It was like a perfect storm, kind of a meeting of all things that kind of came together at the right time. I'd been learning about content marketing for about a year through the Content Marketing Academy, and I was learning, how to create content that was useful. So I'd started writing blog posts for my website. What is a logo? What's a brand? And I'm not a massive fan of writing. I'm okay at it. People say, my writing's pretty good, but I find it a struggle. Perfectionism, again, is like, oh, is this right? I don't want to post this, and doing that. And then I had an experience with a client who'd come. Well, they weren't a client at the time, but they'd come to ask about getting a logo refresh and a brochure done. And we had a great meeting, and I just said to them at the end, well, if you could send me over a JPEG of your existing logo, that would be great. It gives me an idea of what you've got. And then they went away, and I didn't hear from them again. And 4 weeks later, I bumped into them at a networking event. And when I say bumped into them, they were actively avoiding me at this event. And I don't like networking anyway. I'm good when people introduce me to people. I can talk for Scotland. But I'm one of those people who goes to a networking event and pretends to be on their phone, and then 10 minutes later, they're no longer in the room because they just went, I'm out of here. So I was like, right, Carl, you need to step out your comfort zone and go and speak to them. And so I went and spoke to her and said, hey, hope you're well. And, how did you get on with your logo refresh? I'm assuming you found someone to get that done. And she's like, no, I've not done anything with it yet. And I was like, oh, because you seemed quite keen to get it done, and I haven't heard from you. Well, it turns out she didn't know what a JPEG was, and she was embarrassed. And I was mortified, because I'd basically done what I'd always tried not to do, is use jargon and lingo, which I'm used to, and think that it's a basic term. Everyone knows what a JPEG is, don't they? And she didn't. And she wasn't very tech savvy, so she didn't kind of Google it or anything. And so we had a really good discussion, and I was like, right, I can't allow this to happen again. And so I was like, right, okay, I'm going to write a blog post. And I did a blog post on it. What's the difference between a JPEG, a PNG, and a GIF, I think it was. And someone said, why don't you do that as a video? Videos would be really good. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing a video. There's no way. And I was like, anyway, there's hundreds of other designers out there who've probably done videos on what is a JPEG and what's that, a logo. And it was Chris Marr from the Content Marketing Academy. He said, yeah, but, you know, who do you watch on YouTube? I'm a big consumer of YouTube videos. I said, I watch them. And he said, so in their niche, are there other people doing the same videos? And I was like, yeah, there's quite a lot actually. And he's like, well, why do you watch that guy? And why do you watch that girl? Why do you watch that lady? Why do you watch that man? And I went, I find the way they deliver stuff really good. And he went, there you go. He said, you can deliver stuff on what is a JPEG, but you will deliver it in your way. And people will connect with your way of delivering it. It's like when you have a teacher at school and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And then you have a guest come in and say the same thing. You're like, wow, that's amazing. You know, and your teacher's going, I've been trying to tell you that for like 6 weeks because you slipped off. And so that actually made me go, okay, I'm going to do it. And my first videos were awful. They were awful. I mean, my second video that I ever did is one of my most viewed videos, which is cringeworthy to me because I can't watch it. It's just it's so cringe. But it's all about, it doesn't matter that I think it's cringy as long as the content is valuable and people are finding it useful, then you're doing a good thing. And so by creating the YouTube videos, I was in a way trying to help my industry as well, because design is a profession. We train hard for it, but it's become a bit of a commodity, and so it's like kind of a race to the bottom. Where we're up against sites like Fiverr, and there's lots of like logo generating websites, and so people are looking at those sites and then they're coming and asking for a quote from a designer, and the designer's giving a quote and like, what? How much for that? Oh my God. And so there's you'll find a lot of designers are quite, they're not confident in their pricing because they're scared of all the things that go on. So I thought, well, if I can do these videos that helps educate business owners about brand and design, then they're going to have a better relationship with the designer that they work with. Because I wasn't doing the videos for me to get business. It was just helping my industry, helping everyone to raise their prices and give them more confidence. Because I was trying to do the same. I was trying to give myself confidence to do this. And I thought, well, if someone then understands what a JPEG is and a PNG, they can go to the designer and they could be saying things like, hey, should I send you a JPEG or should I send you an EPS file? And the designer will be like, I like you. You understand. This is a great conversation. And so I just kept plugging away. I started off with videos on what is a brand and stuff, but even that was too high level. So I actually went back and I started doing things on color theory, RGB and CMYK, and they did really well. And I've just kind of been going from there, and people seem to watch them. So. Yeah.
I think it goes back to the old adage of there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even now, I remember when I was at school, I was incredibly timid and incredibly quiet, and I was always the one who had questions to ask but didn't want to ask them for fear of what my peers would think, or probably more honestly to not want to give my peers any more ammo for the bullying. And then somebody else would sort of raise their hand and ask the exact same question that I wanted to ask, and everyone in the room was like, thank goodness they asked that.
Yeah, I know, isn't it crazy? You're seeing that story. That's I felt that way as well, and I'm sure people watching are like exactly the same. So we have so much in common, yet at times we think we don't. We think we're the only one.
Absolutely.
That doesn't want to do this and can't do this. And, and you hear a lot, it's like, I say, if I can do YouTube, you can do YouTube, but then it's easy to say that, when you're not the person who hasn't started YouTube.
You touched on it earlier. I think a lot of people get hung up on watching themselves back on video. What they don't realize is that that's how people see them every day. And being on camera is just like having that kind of conversation, one-to-one conversation with someone that you do all the time, but you never get the opportunity to watch it back. And that's the difference for me. And my biggest tip on that is don't watch it back. If you don't want to watch it back, don't watch it back.
Yeah.
Give the help, offer the help, give the suggestions, whatever it is you want to do, tell your story, whatever it is. You don't have to watch it back because you are not the target audience.
No, absolutely. I mean, especially if it's something that's a live stream, just do your thing, and then go. I mean, I've been interviewed on a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I've not listened to them because it's just one of those things I need to. But with YouTube, I have to edit my videos, so I have to watch and look at myself. But I'm completely okay with that now. I'm at the point now where I'm actually about to start speaking to someone to start maybe editing my videos for me, just because of it takes quite a bit of. I'm quite quick, but I think giving somebody else the edit, they will do more with the video than I would, because I'd be like, oh, I don't know, that's maybe a little bit egotistical to do that, or maybe I don't want to kind of raise this point or zoom in on this. Whereas if you give someone else control who's an editor, they will probably do something better and more exciting with the video. So it'll kind of, it's that thing, like I said earlier, that, every step gets better, So I just started with my iPhone. So all I was recording with, I was reading a script, so it was all written out. But I got really good at reading a script, and you would never know I was reading a script. And then I got down to bullet points, and some videos I just hit record and just talk. And don't feel like you have to edit out all the ums, because that's not natural either.
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people look at the videos on YouTube and are put off by the perceived amount of work that they think should go into them, and all the editing they think they should be doing, and it just becomes yet another barrier to prevent them from doing it.
I haven't got the right gear. I haven't got
So at the beginning, how did you deal with that? Did you have a problem with that, and how did you overcome that kind of perception?
I think I felt more pressure because I was a designer, and I felt that my videos had to look better because I was a designer, and so everything. So how do you think everything had to be set up on my desk in the right way and tidy and all the rest of it. Which, you want things to kind of look half decent in the background, but one of the things which has come out of the last sort of 6 months with more and more people jumping onto video calls and having calls because they can't have meetings and stuff, I think that's made things a lot better and easier for people to get into video, because more people have experienced being on camera, and so maybe there's the shock of speaking on video for a lot of people has kind of gone away. There will be those who've never done it yet, but it's you don't even have to appear on the video. If you wanted to, it could just be your voice, and you could just have graphics, on there, and then maybe over time, as you get more comfortable, you could make yourself appear in the corner of the video. But for me, video is about seeing other people, and so if you can, I would suggest that you definitely, even if you show your face at the start, hey, I'm such and such, and then you cut to the graphics, so then you're not having to feel like you're on the video all the time. But I'm saying cut to the graphics, and people are going, oh, I don't know how to do graphics. So there's all these levels of stuff. But when I say graphics, it could just be like a card with text on it.
The most important thing is to be out there and be consistent and provide good content. People will forgive so many other things as long as the content's good, I think.
I think that's if you want. I was speaking to someone today actually about my channel, and so my channel is mostly what you would call evergreen content. So it's information that people will always kind of search for and want answers. What is a logo? What's RGB? What's CMYK? There are channels which are more topic trending, so news, but those you need to be on top of that all the time, because after 2 or 3 days, that video will kind of die down because people's attention spans have moved to the next thing. But with evergreen, people will always search it, so it's kind of easier for your channel to kind of grow. I mean, I've got videos which, like I say, well, my first video is, 150,000 views or something now. So that's kind of continuing. Some videos don't get that many views. Some do. But in my opinion, if I've helped one person, then the video has done its job. It doesn't matter about all the other ones.
To not getting hung up on the numbers and video long game, especially on YouTube.
And it depends on what your goals are. We all have goals for it. And like I say, mine was to just educate. That was because I felt so bad about that one client. And it's like, well, I just don't want anyone to feel that way ever again. I want to create videos. I'm going to put myself out of my comfort zone because I feel I have to do that in order to help other people. And then as a consequence, I ended up speaking at events. I've now got clients all over the world because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. Absolutely. And people forget that as well. They think YouTube is an entertainment platform. It's not. It's a search engine. I've had videos 2 hours after uploading appear on page 1 of Google for search terms. It's a powerful tool. So I think if that would help make people take that step. I didn't realize that it would help people get awareness of my brand or who I am as a personal brand. Then you should. It's massive. It's huge.
It's fantastic. I've got a couple of questions here that have come in. Dave asks, and you mentioned this slightly earlier, but we're going to deeper now. With so much choice when it comes to designers, from the high-end designers right the way through to Fiverr, which we won't mention, how do people best measure the return on investment of a logo, or determine how much they should be investing in the first place?
That's a tricky one. That's kind of how long's a piece of string type thing. The first thing I would say is that when you're looking for designers, is definitely ask for testimonials and ask if you can speak to some of the past customers. That's most important with I don't have an issue with Fiverr, by the way. I used to, but I've got over my big problem with that. In my mind, Fiverr serves an audience that are not my audience.
I was going to say it's got its own market. It's got its own niche, and that's great.
If someone came to me and said, hey, I've got a budget of £50. I need a logo for an event or whatever, I say, why don't you try Fiverr? Why don't you try Upwork? Or there's 99 designs, you'll get something there. But if someone is looking for a logo for their business, then I don't talk about their logo at the start. For me, I'll have a strategy conversation. Okay, well, what's your strategy? What are your values? What's your purpose? Oh, well, we've not done that yet. Right. Well, okay, well, your logo is there to encapsulate some of that. So if you haven't got that, then your logo is just a piece of art. It's not. A logo is a tool for your brand. It's functional, and I think that's when you go to Fiverr, you will get a piece of art. You won't get a functional element of your brand that conveys message and meaning, and that's kind of. I suppose that's the difference. Is that generally the more you pay, it's because you're paying for more experience. Generally, I don't want to make a sweeping statement. There are very talented and experienced people who don't charge a lot, but that generally is down to confidence. And I know a few designers who are very experienced and amazing at what they do, and I'm just constantly like, you should be charging so much more for what you have. But this confidence thing on their end, they're like, oh, I don't know. So yeah, it's just, I would definitely ask for testimonials. The ROI, return on investment on what you get, you should get that from the clients as well. What difference did it make to them? Working with them, what did they use the logo for? Did it make a difference? What support was given? Because there's that as well. I give ongoing support to my clients. Is it just kind of there's your logo, goodbye, thank you for that transaction? And that's sometimes the difference as well, is that the lower levels can be transactional, whereas I'm building relationships with my clients because I don't want to disappear. I want to help see them be successful. So it's an ongoing relationship between myself as a designer and a strategist and my customer. And so in order to do that, time needs to be spent together to learn and find out more. And so obviously there are costs involved in that, but generally the rewards that are reaped from that are much higher. And so you kind of need to look at what it is that you're hoping to achieve from it all. But you know, I wouldn't say it's a buy cheap, buy twice thing. I just think when it's lower end, you need to think, well, how can they make money if it's very cheap? Because there's time involved in creating an original logo, and there are issues and have been issues where people have taken existing logos or stock imagery and are selling them as original logos, and then you buy that, and then let's say you want to then go trademark that logo. You can't do that, and you may have been trading off of that logo for years. Yeah. And all of a sudden you find out you can't trademark it. It doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
It's someone else's. And so there's lots of things that I do. I will do trademark searches, to make sure that any concepts I come up with aren't going to infringe on anyone's copyright. Someone who's charging less probably doesn't do that because they haven't got the time and they're not being paid enough to do that legwork. So just ask, get the prices, ask for testimonials or to speak to clients, and ask what their process is, and then compare processes. That's a good way as well. What's your process? How do you work? And get them to tell you that.
Okay. We've had another question come in. Pete's asking, how important is it to incorporate your branding into video content, or how would you incorporate your branding into video content? I'm just going to extend that a bit.
Yeah, I would say it's just as important as anywhere else. It's all about consistency. It's how we are aware of all the big brands. It's because we see elements of their brand all the time. I was actually I'm writing a script out for a blog post this morning, which is about distinctiveness. And there's differentiation and distinctiveness, and they're two different things in branding. But things like the Nike swoosh or the Apple logo or the Netflix ta-dum, these are all things that we only know them because we see or hear them all the time. And so if you're creating videos, then yes, you want to include some element of your branding in your video. And it could be something simple like, having something in the background, or you have a lower thirds with your logo there. You might not even have the logo. It just could be colors. My brand colors are black and red. Everything's black and red in my life, everything. Also, my beard is going to appear, and I wear a cap all the time. Little things that just become the distinctive part of your brand. Because, most niches and industry sectors are saturated, and so what can you do to make it different? Because your features and benefits are maybe going to be the same. So what else can you do that makes you stand out? And that would be, a tagline, the colors you use. If you're in financial and they're mostly blue, do you go with a lime green? That's a conversation I would have between a client and myself, whether that was the right thing to do. But that would be based on their strategy and what we decide in archetypes and relationships. Is that what the target audience you're trying to attract? Would they think lime green was brave and kind of unusual, and that's the type of financial company they want to work with? Then let's do it.
Yeah.
And then the ones that don't want that are like, oh, financial, lime green. You push them away, but then they're not the right customer for you. So it's about attracting and pushing away. So anywhere you can use your branding, I would highly recommend it. And with video, and I'm talking specifically about YouTube videos here when I say this, is try not to have an intro at the start, like an intro animation. That's great if I'm only going to watch one of your videos. But ideally, you want me to binge watch your videos. And if I have to sit through a 20-second animation at the start of every video, it gets really tiring. Just, most of the comments I get on my YouTube channel are finally, someone that just gets straight to the point.
The point,
And
yeah.
I do. I'll say what the video is about. I'll say, so are you struggling with consistency in your brand? Let's discuss that. And I'll just get straight into it. And I'll just have a lower third that has my name on it. I don't even introduce myself by name. I should. But I just get into it. I used to have an intro. And then people were like, oh, I'm trying to watch your videos, but this is coming on. And so you learn. And, you know, and if you can take one thing away, is like, yeah, it all seems exciting. Look at our shiny animation at the start of our videos. Use that for a corporate video or something on your website that someone's only going to watch once. But for your YouTube stuff, don't do it. Leave it till the end. You know, have an outro that has all your socials and stuff, and it's quite jazzy, you know, at the end. But try to just, people's attention spans are so short that you need to engage them. So yeah, engage through brand, but, you know, just wear a shirt which is of your brand color, or, you know, have a green screen which maybe has something in the background. If, you know, you don't have an office environment which is suitable for a background for video. Hope that answers the question.
Also, as you mentioned there, without actually mentioning it by name, listen to your audience. You know, your audience said, we don't like the intro, and you ditched it. That's key. If the audience say, we don't like this, change it.
Yeah, if one person says they don't like it, then it might just be that one person. But yeah, and also as well, one of the benefits of yeah,
you know, it might be worth listening to them.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about YouTube as well, is that every client that I've had, not one of them's a subscriber. Okay. They've watched the videos, then they've contacted me, and I've asked them all, are you subscribed to my channel? No. So it was funny when you said, you know, at the start when you were like, oh, 6,000 subscribers, and I was like, no, 26. It actually doesn't matter. Subscriber counts they're probably a vanity metric. It's great to have a number there, because if I've got 26,000 and someone comes along and they're like, oh, they must be worth subscribing to, that's, you know, that's a good thing to have. But really it's about how many people are watching, how many video views are you getting, and how long are they watching for? If you've got a 5-minute video and they're only watching a minute, why are they dropping off at a minute? You know, why are you not keeping them engaged? So YouTube can be a bit of a journey in learning, but just step at a time, you know.
Cole, tell me something. What 5 things can people implement? What would your top 5 tips be for people to take away today, go and do something to improve their brand?
Okay, so some of these are easy, some of these are not so easy, but my number one thing would be to have a brand strategy in place. And it doesn't have to be super extensive, but just have an understanding of what should be in a brand strategy, because that will then help you, as I mentioned earlier on in this call, is that by having a solid brand strategy, it will guide you on everything that you need to do. It will tell you how you should be writing your content, what colors you should be using, how should your adverts look. If you don't have a strategy in place, the chances are you're going to be reactionary and you're going to create stuff just on the fly. And this kind of leads into one of my other points is consistency, is to be consistent with your branding, because it's the repetition of seeing and hearing things that makes people remember who you are. And when they're at the point of being able to ready to buy something, they're thinking about, I don't know, if they're thinking about phone covers or, you know, headphones, you want your brand to be the first brand that pops into their head. And that's not easy to do because people are being bombarded all the time. But if you have a strategy in place that's telling you, here's our perfect customer, here's who we are, here's the conversation we need to have between these two in order for it to be, you know, to get the best conversation, and then a sales result, then that's going to keep you focused on what you need to be creating. But if you don't have that conversation, then you're going to be trying to talk to everyone, and a general message just floats over people's heads. You need to be speaking to me as if you understand my problem. Oh, you know, your headphones are broken, you're needing new headphones. Here's, you know, our brand, and here's what we do, and here's why you should buy our stuff, but done in a way that's helpful. And that leads on to my third point, which is if you don't understand what content marketing is, learn. So content marketing can also be called inbound marketing. So rather than being interruptive, like YouTube again, before you even get to watch a YouTube video, you got to wait that 5 seconds and skip that video. Or you might be unlucky and it's an unskippable one and you have to wait on that video. And then if the video is longer than 8 minutes, chances are you're going to have a video appear somewhere inside that YouTube video as well. I pay the monthly fee for YouTube Premium because I watch YouTube a lot and I cannot be bothered with the ads. So YouTube Premium has worked on me. They've got a sale out of me. But nobody likes interruptive marketing. And so content marketing is more about answering people's questions. So it's when people are asking things in YouTube, in Google, and you are providing the answers, helpful, free answers to their problems, and you're building yourself up as the expert and the person to go to. Might be that you can't provide your services in the area that they're placed, but you're building up trust and goodwill with people. And even if they can't use your service, if someone else can, chances are they will refer you because you've been the most helpful to them. So a book that I would recommend is called They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. He is kind of probably won't mind me saying, he's sort of the poster boy of content marketing and how that all works. Marcus runs a pool company, so kind of pools for your back garden and stuff, fiberglass pools, and he basically wrote a blog post every day for 3 years answering a question. He would get asked a question and he'd be like, if I have a blog post that answers that question, no I don't, I'm going to write a blog post on that. And he now tours the world teaching content marketing off the basis of that, but he still has his pool company. And his book is amazing. He talks about something called the Big Five, and I've got the Big Five topics here. And so the Big Five topics in terms of content marketing, what people are looking for are cost and price. How much does something cost? How many websites do not have how much it costs on it? If it's a consumable, a product, generally there's a price. But if it's a service, oh no, we're different. Oh, it depends on what you want. But you can still discuss price. You can still give examples. So if you want this, this, and this, it's going to cost you around about that. You're then giving people an idea of how much something costs. Because I know that when I'm looking for something, the first site that's going to give me the price is probably going to get my sale, especially if I've had to go about 7 sites to get something. Problems, why is my brochure not effective? Or, how do I repair my sink? People are always typing in problems. Comparisons, this versus that. When you're buying a TV or a car or, software, this versus that. That's another big one. Reviews is another one as well. So, looking for reviews of headphones. We all rarely buy something these days just off, I'm going to buy that. We will do a lot of Googling and finding out the best one. And then that's the next one. So best of and top 5, top 10. So those are known as the Big Five. And if you can write content around those, if you can write Big Five content, which is pretty much evergreen, you're going to appear higher than your competitors who are not doing it. Google has a thing called the Google snippet. You'll have probably seen it if you search for something. Right at the top, it will have kind of a paragraph or an extract from a web page that gives what Google thinks is the best answer. I have a couple of those. I think, cool. Can I use a watermarked stock image is one of them. And that comes up as the Google snippet. So that's pretty good. And I've also got videos which come up as the Google snippet for questions as well from my YouTube channel. So it raises brand awareness. Like I say, they might not buy from me, but I'm giving them the answer, which means I'm now in kind of their consciousness of stuff. And then if they see that guy with the beard and the cap, then then that's kind of coming easy for them to kind of tell people, oh, it's the guy in the beard and the cap. That's my distinctiveness coming through in my brand. And what else have I got? Small changes can make a significant impact, and that generally would be in your branding. Like the question earlier about should we use it in video? It's just be consistent. It's not difficult to set up a simple document that says, here are our colors, here are the fonts that we use. Because if you work with lots of people, in some organizations it can be tricky because I've worked with organizations and created brand guidelines, and then I see stuff getting posted up and I'm like, who's using that? Why are they using Comic Sans on that? I don't have a problem with Comic Sans used in the right places, but usually it's not in the right places. And it's because a leadership team will get this done because they feel it needs to be done, but then it doesn't get disseminated between all the staff. And a lot of larger companies have little kind of isolated teams who do their own thing, and we'll just do this in Word and send it out there. By making everything consistent, and then every document going out looking like it's come from the same stable, that helps with that brand recognition and awareness and professionalism as well. You don't have to have big budgets just to, create a template in Canva or something like that. I think Canva's actually got the facility where you can have your brand fonts and your brand colors, so that every time you go in, to use the same ones. So consistency will make a big impact. And my last tip, especially when it comes to any of you who are looking to have a logo designed, is just to remember that the logo is not for you. That's the biggest mountain I have to get over with clients is, what if I don't like it? What if I don't like the logo that you create for me? And I'll say, well, that's not the question that I'll ask you. When I create a logo, I will ask you, does this logo fit the brand? And it's a different question because you're trying to attract customers. So you may not like purple, you may not like squares, but if during the process of creating the brand strategy and we're looking at our customers and we go, okay, well, they hang out here, this is the type of magazines they read, this is what they watch, here's the Facebook groups they're in, here's the feeling that we're trying to get, we want to get across luxury, and it's a high-end item. Purple is a good color for that, so we should probably go with purple. And we want a professional edge to it. We don't want to feel too soft, so something quite angular, like a triangle or a square, would probably work well with that, and we'll choose a font to match. You may not like any of those things, but if it's the right thing for your customer, then that's what the logo should look like. So just when you're going into a logo design thing, just say, it's not for me. I need to do that. And that kind of harks back to, if you go with someone on Fiverr, they're probably not going to be thinking that way. They will give you the logo that you want. That's what you'll get. Whereas I won't play ball so easily with you. I'll be asking a lot of questions and probing, saying, well, why should we do that? Okay, well, that doesn't fit what we've said here. It doesn't fit the research. So let's go this way instead.
That's brilliant.
That's my 5 tips.
Cole, you've been so generous with your time and your advice today. I have one last little question for you, and see if you can answer this in less than 20 words.
What was that, sorry?
See if you can answer this in less than 20 words.
I'll try.
Okay. Challenge of the day. What one piece of advice would you give people about making videos?
Just hit record. Honestly, just hit record. There's a guy called Brian Fanzo, and his catchphrase is push the damn button. Yeah. And I would reiterate what Brian says. Just push the damn button.
Brilliant. Cole, thank you so much for being part of this today.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate you being here. It's been great having you on. How can people find out more about you and get access to more of your help and advice?
Okay, well, you can find my website, which is Pixels Inc. with a K, pixelsinc.com. Or you can find me on YouTube, which is youtube.com/pixelsinc. And pretty much you'll find me from those two sites. I'm on Twitter as @pixelscall if you want to kind of follow me on Twitter. And I have a monthly newsletter called Rock Your Brand. So it's rockyourbrand.co.uk if you want information about branding and design. It comes out once a month. There's no hard sales or anything like that. So it's just tips and stuff to help you improve your brand.
I'll put those details in the comments below as well.
That would be awesome.
Subscribe and everything like that. So I definitely encourage you all to go and check out Cole's YouTube channel in particular. It's really interesting to see how his journey in video has evolved over time. If you're thinking about dipping your toe into video creation for your own personal brand and would like a little support along the way, I'm running a free 7-day video challenge. And again, I'll put the link to that in the notes below. So go and check that out as well, please. Thanks for watching today and for all your questions. I'm sorry if we've not had a chance to get to any of them. Be sure to check in the chat and add any more questions you have there, and we'll get to those as soon as we can. Remember, Video Marketing Confidence Live is here every fortnight. And if you want to know anything more about that, just give me a bell. If you know anything about me at all, you'll know how important storytelling is to me, and telling stories in a video, and how powerful I think that can be. So I'm delighted that next time I will have legend maker and story strategist Melanie Gow here with me. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching Video Marketing Confidence Live with me, Diana Johnson. Be sure to join the community at videomarketingconfidence.com, where you can continue to find ways to use video to help you thrive. See you next time.